Hey everybody, welcome to The Truth, or welcome back to The Truth, where today we're going to cover the official college football rankings for Week 12. Apologies, guys. For Week 12, um, at number one, they have Georgia. I think after the Ole Miss game, that kind of confirms this is the best team in the nation right now. Such a dominant win against such a top-ranked opponent last week. You got to put them up there. Michigan went down one, which I get it. It's tough because they didn't lose, but I mean Michigan. Ohio State went down one because they didn't lose. I know that's tough for Ohio State, but it's hard to not have Georgia number one with that dominant of a win against a top ranked opponent. And everyone's big thing was Ohio State strength of schedule. Well, Georgia just played a really tough opponent and just beat the snot out of them. So you gotta respect that. Michigan played a decent game against their opponent. They did win. They played a decent game against Penn State, but not as impressive. So I get why they don't move up. But also, it's just like, dang, still a good win's a good win. Ohio State's ranked 2. That will be settled whenever they play each other. I could be wrong. They could be wrong. We'll see. Florida State at number 4. I like that. And then Washington to end it off at 5. I also like that. Or Oregon at 6. Texas at 7, Alabama at 8. I think those teams are right neck and neck. I think Alabama's been taking the lead lately, but I don't mind those teams in that range. Missouri knocking at the doorsteps. Not counting record-wise, I like that. I think Ole Miss doesn't drop that much because I do think Ole Miss can beat Louisville, Oregon, Penn State. I think they can beat those teams, so I throw them up there. Other than that, I like Louisville up near the top 10 just because, hey, look, they only have one loss. They only have one loss, and that's impressive at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to, and that's what you got to count. Oregon State, I like Oregon State. I think they can contend with some teams. Do I have them? Would I have them that high over Penn State? I don't know. That's my one big thing. Is yeah, I get they lost to Michigan, but they lost to Michigan. Michigan's undefeated right now. That's why I give the same thing with Ole Miss. It's I don't know if they dropped that far. Oklahoma 8-2. I kind of like that. I don't mind Oklahoma at 14 in that range. I have them in that range. I don't mind that. LSU at 15, not counting record wise, I get it. They've lost. The only losses they've lost to are to teams ranked higher than them. They've won a lot of games. They beat a lot of ranked. They beat some couple decent teams, and they've dominated against teams who, aren't necessarily the best. I mean, we know what their defense is, and I feel like it kind of makes sense to put them about midway pack because their offense is amazing, but their defense is garbage, and that's what it makes sense. Iowa at 16. I think for me that's a little high for Iowa. I'm not that high on them. I like Iowa being in the top 25. I just don't know if they're that high. Arizona over North Carolina and Tennessee. I just don't think so. Notre Dame. I don't know how to feel about Notre Dame anymore. My one big thing is I think North Carolina is a little underrated just because they are 8-2 at the end of the day. Kansas State, Utah, Oklahoma. Give me that's tough because I don't know if I'd like. Give me Oklahoma State over Utah just because they did beat Oklahoma. I'll have them above there. Tulane and then Kansas at the end. Any teams I think that are losing out against Kansas. You know what? Liberty. I don't think they have Liberty in there. I like to see Liberty in the top 25. They're 10-0. Why can't they be in the top 25? That's where I kind of disagree with that. I want to see Liberty in the top 25. Also want to see James Madison in there too. I know they can't compete for the playoffs. But hey, still put them in there. I mean, come on now. They're undefeated. Eventually, you have to give them their respect at the end of the day. Eventually. And that's my one big thing is I'd like to start seeing these teams who are still undefeated, like Liberty, like James Madison, get in there because they deserve it. If they finish undefeated, they should be highly ranked. And that's where I stand. It's like they took care of business and they deserve it. Other than that, I don't have too many complaints with this with this ranking. Getting into, I know what everyone's waiting for, my rankings. Coming in at number one, I do have Georgia, just like the college football playoffs. I like what Georgia did. I like how they're dominant win. It's really hard for me not to have Georgia at number one. Coming in at number two, I have Michigan. It wasn't a dominant win against Penn State, but a win was still a win. It was a good win too. I believe it was a 10-point win. It might have been like 9 or 10 points, and that's why I kind of have them over Ohio State. Is like I don't know. I don't know with Ohio State. Like it's like, do I think they can compete with Michigan? Yes, I just don't know if they can beat them, and I'm still waiting on that Ohio State Michigan game to really decide that. Florida State, they just play too many close games. Who I have at four, they just play too many close games. I like him at four. I like him at four. I wish they had more dominating wins. I like that one over LSU, but that's really about it. There's not like interconference games against good teams and the interconference that they've just flat out dominated. There's not a lot, so it kind of rubs me the wrong way. Washington, I have at five just because of that close game with Oregon. It's hard for me to say, yeah, Washington should be ranked higher when it's like Oregon does have that loss, but like Washington could easily lose that game. Do I think any given Saturday they could beat Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia? I'm not really that confident. A lot of these top four teams, they got really good defenses. They do. And that's where it's kind of like, I don't know if Florida State can, I don't know if Washington can hang with those defenses. I'm not sure yet. Um, Going into number six, I have Liberty because they are undefeated. And I'll state that again. I have Liberty at number six because they're undefeated. I have them over James Madison because I believe they can beat James Madison. I like what Liberty's doing. I think they have more talent than James Madison. And I think they deserve a bowl game right now. Coming in at number seven, I have James Madison, like I mentioned before. And then coming in at number eight, I have 9-1 Alabama. And hear me out why I have Alabama over Oregon and Texas. I know Texas has a tiebreaker, but in my personal opinion, Alabama has been playing way better. I mean, it's hard for me to say like if Texas and Alabama played again, Texas would beat them. I think 9 out of 10 times Alabama would win, and that's the thing where it's just like, look, this Alabama team has gotten substantially better, and that's where I'm kind of saying like it's hard for me because like I think this Alabama team could fight with Georgia. I'm not saying it'll be super competitive. No, but I'm saying they could fight with them. And that's where I'm saying like I don't think this Texas and Oregon team can, especially with Texas right now. Oregon, I have over Texas at number 9-1. Look, they're winning games, they're competing. I think they have a chance to upset Washington. Like I think if they played again, Washington could get upset. With that being said, at number 10, I have Texas. And my one thing about that is they just haven't been playing well. They almost lost to TCU because, like I've said before, they played down to their opponents. They played a great first half, and then played down to their opponents. They played down to TCU and almost got upset. That's where I'm kind of sitting here like, I can't, I can't give you more props because you almost choked in one half. It really like I want to put Texas higher, I just can't. I really, really can't. Oh, just to mention how I do before, the way I do my rankings are how many losses you have. So the number of losses, and then with those teams who have the number of losses, I rank them that way. And then the next is the next number of losses, and the next and the next. So teams who are undefeated, 1 loss and 2 losses. That's the rankings this week. Going into number 11, I have Louisville. Louisville's also 9-1. They're I like Louisville. I like what they're doing. I do think they're better than Tulane at this moment. It was close for me, but Louisville, I just feel like they've played tougher opponents and they've won them. They've beat and they've played well. Um, Tulane's tough for me because right now I feel like they're playing better than last year, but there's just so many tough teams above them. They're 9-1 though, so give them tons of props. I have them coming at number 12, and then 13 Toledo at 9-1. Look, Toledo's the last one-loss team, and I like them. I don't mind putting them at 13 because of that respect. You take care of business, that's what you get. Um, Coming in at 14, I have Missouri over Ole Miss. I've been going back against this Missouri and Ole Miss. I know some people like Ole Miss because their offense, and some people like Missouri because of how well they played throughout the season. I'm going to take Missouri because they played a more competent game versus Georgia than Ole Miss did against Georgia. I like that. I like how well Missouri played against Georgia compared to Ole Miss. That's what gives me confidence, and that's why I rank Missouri at 14 and Ole Miss at 15. Coming in at 16, I have Oklahoma. My main thing about Oklahoma is that Oklahoma State lost, and that's why I drop them. I don't think they fall any farther than that. I like Oklahoma. They beat Texas. I like what they're doing, and I don't mind it. Coming in right behind Oklahoma, I have number 17, Penn State. Penn State's Penn State's a good team. They've been more quiet. They're one of the more quieter teams, but they've been pretty good. I know the college football rankings have them at number 12. I have them at number 17 based off of their record and the rankings. I just don't think they have enough to beat a team like Oklahoma, in my opinion. I think Oklahoma's too much higher powered than Penn State. I don't know if Penn State has the athletes to keep up with that high scoring team, and that's my personal opinion. Um, and that's why I have Penn State at 17. Uh, Coming in at 18, I have Oregon. I like Oregon. I have Oregon State. My bad. Sorry, guys. I have Oregon State at 18. Um, I like what they're doing. I like how they've been playing. Uh, they do have some losses, and it's tough because right now I'm battling between them and UNC. But I like that defense. I like what they're doing. UNC 8-2. It's tough. I believe they play Clemson this week, and that's really UNC North Carolina University is what I'm talking about. If you don't have, or University of Northern Carolina, or however you say it, apologies. That Clemson game is really going to decide for me how good this team is. Clemson's not the best team right now. They're at one of their weakest since they've been in the last couple years. And that's what's really going to make me think, man, is this UNC team good enough to compete with, right now, I believe, middle of the tier record teams? We'll see. And that's what I'm really sitting at. Because if they lose to Clemson, then it's like, dog, how can I have you that high? Coming in at number 20, I have Iowa. The reason I have Iowa at 20 is because past Iowa, I think Iowa can beat any one of these teams. And that's why I had them at 8-2. It's basically they're at that point to where it's like I don't think they can beat other teams, but they're not going to lose to the teams I have under them, in my personal opinion. And that's why I have Iowa at 20, like I said before, at 8-2. Coming in at 21, I have Memphis at 8-2. Reason I have Memphis is their only losses have come to ranked teams, and that's a pretty impressive. That's like, give them credit to where credit's due. Memphis has kind of taken care of business. I mean, if your only losses come to ranked teams and you're beating non-ranked teams, maybe you should be ranked. And with how this ranking, with how the wins and losses have come out this year, I think they deserve that spot at 21. Coming at 22, I have Troy. The only reason I have Troy under Memphis is because their losses to ranked teams, in my personal opinion, have looked worse than to Memphis's. But with the same reasoning, at 22, Their only losses have come to ranked teams. So give them credit. Coming at 23, I have SMU. This one was a tougher one to decide. Right, my main thing was looking at these teams. How are their losses, and do I think this team could be under teams? And in my personal opinion, I think SMU can beat the teams under them, and their losses, even though they weren't ranked, weren't bad losses. So give me SMU. Coming in at number 24, I have Fresno State. And the reason I have Fresno State here is because they beat who I have at top 25. And I think that's kind of why I give them the nod. Um, and plus, I didn't know where to put 26. I was really in an indifference, needless to say. But give me Fresno State. They're a good team this year. They're a really good team. But because they're not getting national recognition, because they don't have like the most flashiest players, they're 8-2 at the end of the day, and give them more credit as credit is due. Coming in at number 25, I have UNLV. I have UNLV at 25. I like their conference wins, but my main thing is UNLV lost to Fresno State and they lost to Michigan. That's why I have them at 25. Just because I can't put them higher than Fresno State because of that loss, and I don't think they've played better, substantially better, to make me feel confident to put them over Fresno State, like I have Alabama over Texas, for instance. I just don't think they're like that. Coming into my honorable mentions, I have 2 honorable mentions for this week. At 26, I have Air Force at 8-2. The reason I don't have Air Force in the top 25 is because, one, they do have a conference loss, I believe, and 2, if I'm not wrong, and 2, the other loss isn't a top 25 loss like UNLV. That's why I don't feel like I can put them above that. And then coming right in after Air Force at 27, the last 8-2 team is Miami, Ohio. And my main thing was it's that Miami, Florida game, the Hurricane game. I think they're the Hurricanes. Miami, Florida, where you just got battered. And I just can't confidently say you ranked any higher than that. And that's the one loss I have. Really, they also have another loss that isn't top 25, but it was a close loss. So that's where I stand on that. Thank you all for watching. If you disagree with the college football rankings, let me know. Let me know why this team's better than this team, college football rankings wise, and these teams who are really close. Let me know what you think, what players or what offense or what style you think makes them better than the other teams. My rankings wise, tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you do like. Carrying in what I have, my criteria for the rankings, what you don't like, what you do like. Yeah, and then give me your predictions coming into who do you think is going to be ranked higher next week. Give me your predictions. I'm eager to hear it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see y'all next time.